what I recommend is first you go onto the platform, you get a little bit used to it, you find your feet in the platform and what you want to do. Of course, that will adapt over time. And also just be authentic. You don't have to like copy other people and feel like, oh, you should be doing this thing, or like this person's doing that, so you should do that. Like that isn't necessary. You just find what works for you. And another thing, of course, we mentioned consistency. I would say just learn from people on the platform that are performing well. When you learn from those people, you're going to be able to reach those points as well and continue to grow. One of the reasons why I actually really like LinkedIn is that it felt less like a social media platform and more like a learning platform, because I got to learn from people who are running like 7, 8 figure businesses and they're doing like big numbers, they're successful, and they're sharing advice for free on LinkedIn. So I would always say keep a learning mindset when you're on LinkedIn as well. That's where you'll grow.
Before we dive into today's episode, please hit that subscribe button. Your support helps us grow and inspire more people on their journeys. Thank you. Hello, Ayesha. Thank you for joining us today and welcome to the show.
Perfect. Thank you for inviting me.
So, Ayesha, for those who don't know you, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Ayesha. I run a personal branding agency called Mentoria Digitals. I'm also quite active on LinkedIn. A lot of individuals that probably watch this or listen to this, they'll know me from LinkedIn. And I joined LinkedIn probably, I think this was maybe 3 years ago. And since then, I've been posting consistently on there. Through that is basically how I grew the agency. So now we help individuals with their LinkedIn and growing their brand. So that is my story. I did an apprenticeship from there. My manager, he told me that you should go on to LinkedIn. So that's where my story started. And then to this day, it's continuing.
Oh, really? So, was it thanks to that person, your manager, why you
Yeah.
started?
Yeah, so his name is William, and he told me that at the time when I was doing my apprenticeship that I should get onto LinkedIn. And then I made a profile. And like at the beginning, as a lot of people do, where they're like ghosts on LinkedIn, they're just watching what's happening, and then after that they decide to take action. That was me as well. So I was just lurking around and seeing what are people doing, and I found a bunch of people who inspired me. So that's when I decided, okay, I want to go full on with this and I want to see what happens. That was like after a whole year, by the way. And then after that, I went full on with LinkedIn and I have since then.
That's pretty cool that such one person can have such impact. And do you remember why did he tell you to go there? Did he see their potential, or was it specifically good for the work that you were doing before?
Yeah, so I would say for two different reasons. It was for their business. So at the time, I was helping them and everything with their marketing. And then also, he told me it will be good for your own personal brand as well. Back then, I didn't know what personal brand was. It was just like a word, a phrase that I'd heard. And then later on, I got to learn about it. So those were the two reasons.
That's great to hear because usually I feel like that people discover it through, that they somehow start and over time they post and start posting more, and that's how they discover. But when someone tells you and gives you like advice to go for it, it sounds great.
Yeah, it's good having someone who's there and tells you and advises it as well.
And did he also, at the time, were he also building his brand, or was it like advice for you that you would be the ideal person for this?
So back then, he wasn't like really building his brand. He was just here and there on LinkedIn, as a lot of people are. But I was the one who decided I want to go full on with my brand.
And didn't you think or consider like other platforms as well? Because maybe you saw it differently, but I think that often people see LinkedIn, maybe not anymore, but before as this corporate platform. So maybe you
Mhm.
were also the person who saw it like that, or did you already see it differently?
Yeah, to be honest, back then I was like, LinkedIn is like this business platform where there's like business people. I'm probably not gonna fit in. This seems to like, people they're talking about, oh, they've made like this amount of revenue and stuff like that. I was like, is this really the platform for me? But then I also did go into other platforms like Twitter and Instagram. Sometimes I'm on Instagram, but LinkedIn is the main place because when I started to go into the content and see the posts that were being posted, I saw a lot of people who inspired me, and they weren't like old business owners in their 50s and 60s. They were individuals that
Hmm.
were like around my age, and they had like different upbringings, but like I felt like I could relate to their story. So that's why I
Hmm.
felt like maybe this is a good place to be. So then, I went into the platform, and a lot of the people that I looked up to back then, they're my friends now, so I speak to them, and it's really interesting when I think about it in that way.
Yeah. And would you be willing to share any names, any creators?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of them like that I look up to now, and like I have spoken to. There's Shoaib Ahmed, there's Matt Swain. There's so many people, to be honest, on LinkedIn. Like I feel like my network has grown so much over the past 4 years, and like it's interesting when you look back on everything and you see the opportunities that come as well. Another name is Niall Cleaver. So these are a lot of individuals who I saw at the beginning of my LinkedIn journey, and I would tell myself like these are interesting people, and one day I want to speak to them and learn from them, and now I am.
I was going to ask you if back then you had idea or vision or dream that one day you will be one of such a big creators as well, and inspiring others.
Yeah, I mean, I try my best. Still, like, I feel like there is still space for growth and stuff, but I am happy with the impact I've made. And like every day, I try to post, I try to engage, inspire people. I get DMs from people. They're like, you know what? You're an individual that we probably don't see a lot on the platform. Like people like yourself because like I'm a young girl, I'm a hijabi, I live in the UK, I've got a mixed background and things like that. So a lot of people, they probably don't see someone like me on the platform that is
Hmm.
like who are doing quite well, so it's inspiring for them. So when I get messages like that from individuals who are probably experiencing something similar to me that I was before, then I get inspired. I'm like, you know what, I have to push myself and do more.
Yeah, yeah. And in case there are people who maybe haven't seen your profile yet, do you know what's your number of followers as of now, as of when we are recording?
I think it's 55K right now.
Who knows? When we release, it will definitely be a higher number, but it's really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like some people I've known for this amount of time, like they have more followers than me. Some of them have less followers than me. But the way I really measure it is like the impact I've made. So, like when people come to me and they actually speak to me and they're like, oh my gosh, this was so interesting, or like, we like this is what makes me feel good. Of course, the following count is like one number, but when I see the impact, I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Just like posting a couple of words online and stuff like this can happen.
And coming back to your beginnings on LinkedIn, do you remember what you were posting about? Or did you already have a strategy, or what was it like?
So at the beginning, to be honest, I didn't really know what I want to post about, what I want to say. So I'd look at other people on LinkedIn, and there were two main areas I would post about back then. The first main area was around marketing in general. So like
Hmm.
stuff like marketing campaigns or like just advice around stuff like that. And then the other side of it was stuff around self-improvement, or like boundaries, taking care of yourself when you're working, stuff like that. At the time, I didn't have my business, but it would just be general advice. And then slowly over time, I figured out like what I want to focus more on. And then I built my business. So then from that, I knew I want to solely focus on LinkedIn branding. And then from that
Yeah.
time, I've been doing that as from like till now. So, a lot of people, they tell you you should have a strategy in place from the beginning and you should know what you want to post about and stuff, but I say, go into the platform, try out a few different things and see how it goes, and then it will work out for you and you'll find what works best. But some people, because you don't know what you want to offer to your audience as well. A lot of people, they're not running businesses, they're like just normal people who want to post on LinkedIn, grow an audience and make an impact. So you have to look at what your goals are as well. For me, yeah, it is to grow my business and gain leads, clients, of course, share like my ideas. But for other people, it might be different. So you have to look at what suits you.
Yeah, I agree. And I think about what are your goals. Also to I would say to make sure that you enjoy it and that you can stay consistent. Because I'm not going to lie, might not be fun to show up every day. I'm pretty sure that you know from your own experience.
Hmm.
So make sure that there is something that you enjoy and then you can do long term.
Yeah, definitely. It isn't like easy. You have to put in effort. It's not just gonna happen like that. But as you mentioned, that word long term, that is something that I wish a lot of people understood on LinkedIn, that more people understood that this is the long term game. It's not just short term.
Hmm.
Because some people, they expect that they're gonna get great results in like 2 or 3 months. But to be honest, that isn't the case. You have to put in the effort for quite a while. I mean, I've been doing this for like 3+ years now, and even clients that I've worked with, some individuals, like we've been with them for like more than a year. Some people they have left after 2 or 3 months because they don't understand that you have to think about this for the long term. You know, if you look at these other
Hmm.
brands as well, like if you have Coca-Cola, they have been in the market for such a long time. It's been like decades, and then they've made their name. So you can't expect that, oh, you post for 2, 3 months and like you're gonna get crazy growth and like everyone will know about you. It's just not like that. So I guess when
Hmm.
you accept that from the beginning and you put in the effort in the long run, that's when everything pays off.
I agree, and I feel like that this recurring theme that I hear across many people that I speak with, because even sometimes I get like a message how to grow, or I've been posting and I don't see engagement. But then the question is, for how long have you been doing that? You know, you need to keep showing up every day, and it doesn't happen overnight. You may see like
Hmm.
some posts on LinkedIn, but it can be like one out of so many. But in the end, everyone tells you that it's about the consistency and staying in the long term.
Exactly, yeah, that's what it is. Not just for LinkedIn, but other platforms as well. When you're consistent and you show up, you share your ideas again and again, then people recognize you for those topics and those ideas, which is what your goal is supposed to be, so that people can recognize you for those things.
Yeah, and from your such a rich journey, what would be some other tips or advice that you would share? Maybe what you learned recently, or even what you would recommend people when starting out, besides what we just discussed?
Yeah, that's a good question because I feel like I get so many people messaging me about this exact same thing where they're asking for tips and advice on starting out on LinkedIn. What should we do? And what I recommend is first you go onto the platform, you get a little bit used to it, you find your feet in the platform and what you want to do. Of course, that will adapt over time, and also just be authentic. You don't have to like copy other people and feel like, oh, you should be doing this thing or like this person's doing that, so you should do that. Like that isn't necessary. You just find what works for you. And another thing, of course, we mentioned consistency. I would say just learn from people on the platform that are performing well. When you learn from those people, you're going to be able to reach those points as well and continue to grow. One of the reasons why I actually really like LinkedIn is that it felt less like a social media platform and more like a learning platform, because I got to learn from people who are running like 7, 8 figure businesses, and they're doing like big numbers, they're successful, and they're sharing advice for free on LinkedIn. So why don't we go on to them and learn from them? So I would always say keep a learning mindset when you're on LinkedIn as well. That's where you'll grow.
That's a great point, and I think that's also something that I like about LinkedIn because, for example, if you create your own feed and you select the people that you follow every day, you get to learn from them. And on top of it, sometimes people create such beautiful posts that it's not only valuable with info that you receive, but it's also so beautifully made, like some, I don't know, infographics or carousels and stuff like that. So literally, if you pick the right people that you can learn from, you enjoy their content, and every day they give you something new, I think that's just perfect.
Yeah, on the platform, like there's so many great people that you can learn from as well. And as time goes on, more people join as well. Some like really, now they're like really big people on the platform, but back then, like a few months ago, maybe, only a few people knew about them. So, it's your chance as well. You can do stuff like that too. There's so many names that I've seen on the platform too across the last 3 years where individuals have left the platform that could have made a massive impact, and then on the other hand, you
Mhm.
have people who have made such a massive impact because they just kept showing up and they've had crazy growth. So it's possible.
I agree. And as we discussed it before, when it comes to your business, did you always have like a dream or an idea that you would like to start your own business?
Yeah, so from a young age, I always wanted to start a business because I wanted that freedom. And I felt like I was just never that person who was gonna go into a job, a 9 to 5 job, and like be happy with that, which is, it's different for everyone. You just find what works for you. But I never knew what I want the business to be about or like who to help or what should it be. So like when I was younger, I thought, okay, I'm gonna have a bakery business. So I'm gonna open up a bakery and stuff like that. Like that was one of my like little goals. And then after that, I was like, I want to do tutoring, so like teaching kids and have like a business for that. And then when I went onto LinkedIn and I saw what people are doing, and they're doing it all online, they have freedom, they can just work from anywhere. Then I was like, you know
Yeah.
what, maybe I should try this out and see how it goes. It might change as the years go on. Maybe I might venture into something different. But for now, I feel like this was what I was meant to do. So, I'm doing it.
It sounds perfect. It's something that you enjoy, that you're doing well. So, great job. And obviously, it's not easy to start your own business. So, have you got any advice or any tips for people who want to start business as well?
Yeah, so this is another thing that a lot of people reach out to me about. And I remember a couple of days ago as well on Instagram, someone messaged me too, and she was like, how do you scale your business? So, like, I want to hire people that will help me so that I can get things off my plate. So, in general, advice that I would give is again, you should have that learning mindset. Don't always think you're right because you're going to make so many mistakes along the way. And if you think you're right, you won't learn as time goes on. So that's why you need to be open to the idea that you are making mistakes and that is completely fine. You just have to learn from them, and then later on things will improve. And don't stop your growth. I've seen a lot of people that are like they're happy in one place and they're like, okay, you know what? This amount of income that we're getting or like this amount of growth that we've seen, like it's completely fine, like we're happy with it, we don't need to do anything else. That's where you will stop growing. So you need to keep that mindset of I can achieve anything. Like you have to take your limiting beliefs out of your mind as well, and tell yourself that anything is possible. And as time goes on, also reach out to people in your industry who are multiple stages ahead of you so you can learn from them. And there's so many people on LinkedIn as well who will give you advice for free, so make the most of those people. Reach out to them and ask them questions, because yes, maybe all of them won't reply, but there will be at least one or two people that will reply. Even me, I get lots of messages from people, and I always try whenever possible to reply to them, to just pop a 1 minute voice message and share my advice with them just to help them out, because I was at that stage before where I needed that help. So I want to do that as well now. So that's what happened. Someone messaged me on Instagram and she was asking, I want to outsource some work, I want to hire people. So like how should I do that? I have no idea. So these are like the little steps and things that you should do just so you can grow. It's a process, it's different for everyone, to be honest. I can give general advice, but everyone's journey is unique. So just keep pushing yourself. There will be ups and downs.
I agree, and I like it. And it's another benefit of LinkedIn that you can pretty much text or send DM to anyone, as mostly as long as you are connected. So don't underestimate that you have such opportunity and such a chance. And as you said, the person may not reply you, but you never know if the next person will reply you. So it's definitely worth trying.
Yeah. And there was a post I saw on LinkedIn yesterday. Someone was mentioning the most underrated tool on LinkedIn. And you would expect it to be something like, oh, your banner or your headline or your profile picture, things like that. But it wasn't any of those things. It was actually voice messages. She said that because no one can fake them, you can't go into AI and ask for a voice message. It is you, it's authentically you. So you can't really fake it. So she was saying that, it's something we should try to make more use of.
That is true, and I don't do it much. I should probably focus on it more. And as you mentioned it, I think it's topic on its own, AI and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
And I think it will become even more relevant in the future. So if this helps you and something to stay authentic, I like this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, speaking of AI, it's a big topic. So what's your take on AI? I assume you use it. So can you tell us maybe what do you use, if you follow it, if you are interested in AI at all?
Yeah, so with AI, I remember when it started booming on LinkedIn and growing quite a lot about 2 years ago. Back then, at the beginning, I didn't really try it out or anything. I was like, I don't really know how this is going to be. How is it going to help me? And then over time, I started to use tools. So AI tools like ChatGPT, like the specific LinkedIn ones as well. So like Magic Post. And there's so many integrations of AI in different tools as well. So I regularly use those now. And it just speeds up the process of things so much more.
Hmm.
Advice and things that you probably wouldn't be able to access like 5 or 10 years ago. You can just easily ask AI tool and it can help you out, even with design work. Like you've got Canva, it's got AI tools in it now, and there's so many other tools out there as well. So I always recommend try it out and find what works for you. The thing is, there's so many nowadays, so you have to properly check and see, okay, which one is suitable for me. Like nowadays, another one I'm trying out is DeepSeek. So again, another one
Oh,
that's
it's
been
just
crazy on
latest
LinkedIn.
one, yeah.
Yeah, it's been crazy on LinkedIn, people mentioning it all the time. So that's another one I've been trying out. So, when it comes to AI, don't be afraid to try it out. You never know, it could help you. Like I think I've probably cut my hours by at least 20-30% because of AI because it helps so much. But make sure you're adding your authentic self into it as well. So you use it to help you, but don't use it to like do everything for you because you still have to use your brain and your creative senses as well.
And I think it's also important to know that people can notice if it's, or often can notice if it's 100% AI. So
Yeah.
use it to help you, but not to replace you, I would say.
Yeah. You know what? I get messages from people and they're like, my posts aren't performing well and I don't know what the issue is. Like I've been posting, like I think the topics are good. I think what I wrote was good. And then I go into the profile and I look at the post to give them advice. And then I message them. I'm like, the posts they look like they've been written from AI. Like you're using those like there's like little things in like AI tools which you can see these
Yeah.
posts have been AI written, like the specific emojis, the specific phrases, and also like hashtags at the end of the posts and things. And then I go to them, like, you need to actually write them. You need to learn how to write them. You can't be using like these tools and stuff. There are like LinkedIn tools out there like Magic Post, which are really good. I mean, Magic Post, I use that regularly and it's honestly really good. You have to still put like your ideas and your information into it, but then it helps you. And if you're at the beginning stage and like right now, I'm probably not scratched up with my writing and I still need help. So then you can ask for these tools to provide you with assistance. So that is fine. But when it's doing it all completely for you, then that's not authentic. And most of us can't tell who have been in that industry or we've seen those things.
Yeah, I think, and then I think it has the opposite effect that it immediately puts you off because it's
Mhm.
so obvious. And yeah, just try to spend more time on it, learn with it, and don't be afraid to give it to your personality because that's what, after all, makes you unique. Of
Yeah,
course, take advantage of that, but don't use it as a replacement.
yeah. And to be honest, I actually don't blame a lot of these individuals for doing stuff like this because a lot of the advice and things on LinkedIn, like people mention these things where they're like, oh, use this tool or do this or do that, but they're not specific enough with it. And then what happens is the individual probably goes down the wrong route where they're not using their authentic voice and things. Even another thing, you probably noticed this where you see AI comments. This comes up on like every single one of my posts, and even for yourself, maybe you'll see it too. But it's not authentic, and people like they'll hire people to help them with commenting, and then they're using AI tools and stuff, and they don't really know anything about it. And then later on, you realize, oh wait, this has damaged my brand. So you have to take care of stuff like that.
Yeah, and sometimes I think they engage because obviously to support you, or I don't know, to get visibility or something else. But then it's also the way they engage, because sometimes the comment doesn't really tell you anything new, or there isn't really much for you to reply to if it, for example, summarizes your post. So then what are you supposed to say? Like, okay, thank you, or you are right. So I would say also, people, don't be afraid to share your opinion, come up with something creative, or just think outside of the box and just try to stand out and provide some value.
Exactly, yeah. You have to put the effort in. You can't just expect things to be done for you or for tools to do it for
Hmm?
you. You still have to put the effort in. But to be honest, you're going to enjoy it. Like when you're doing it and you're in the zone, you enjoy it. You know, yesterday, someone from my team messaged me who manages a couple of like comments on my posts. So she sent me a picture of two comments under my post. They were exactly the same. There was no differences in the comments. Like each word was the same. And then she was asking me like, what do you do when someone does something like that? And then I looked at it and I was like, wow, like these people are damaging their brands because they're doing stuff like that. And they don't realize it right now, but later on they'll realize it.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see that, other people can see that, and if they keep doing that, then more people will see that. So I think sometimes just somehow politely it's good to point it out so that maybe they realize and they don't do it again. Want to take your podcast to the next level? At Epic Story, we help you launch, improve, and market your podcast with expert guidance. Whether you're just starting out or refining an existing show, we've got you covered. Visit epicstory.digital and bring your epic story to life. So, as we are speaking about AI and this stuff, how do you manage to keep up with everything, like with the latest news, latest tools, and what are your sources?
So I don't really read the news and stuff, but because I'm on LinkedIn or like Instagram and social media platforms, from them, I follow a lot of individuals that are in the AI field and they're posting about what's happening. So from there, I get to find out about things. And these are people who make things simple for you to understand. Because, of course, I'm not in the AI industry. And it's not something I specialize in, but I still like to use it to help with things. So when you follow those people, they can teach you quite a bit, to be honest, and you're learning from them for free, and they're experts in their industry and their niche. So, I'll see posts on LinkedIn and they're mentioning, like, this is how you can use this tool. This is what this tool is really useful for. And then I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe I should try it out, see how it is. And they make it simple for you to use it. So, usually that is how I find out.
That is true. I would probably before never imagine that it will be one of my main sources of basically news, for example, AI related,
Mhm.
because if you follow the right curators, sometimes you'd be surprised how quickly they come up with the latest stuff, and also,
Yeah.
like post it so that it's concise with all the important stuff, maybe even images or the video. So that's another benefit of LinkedIn, I would say.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people will actually look down on this and they'll say like why you shouldn't get news from social media. Like news from social media isn't accurate. I've heard this before. But yeah, it does require that you do your own research and look into things. But as you've mentioned, it's a concise way of like getting the information to you and quickly. And these people are on their toes, they're posting about things like within the hour of something happening, they're posting about it. They know what's happening and they're
Yeah.
making it easy for you to understand. So why don't you make use of that? Why don't you allow yourself to learn from those things?
Exactly, and I think the good point what you mentioned, that about relying on people who post on social media. I
Mhm.
think that if those people were posting something that is not true or something that you cannot rely on, no one would be following them. So those people cannot really afford to post something that is not true, because it's part of their brand after all, if they are branding themselves as AI people. And since there are quite a few, understandably, you select those that you like, that you trust. So it was a good point, but at the same time, I think that it makes sense to follow such people, if it makes
Yeah.
sense.
Hmm. No, no, it makes sense.
And then, what are your goals like for the future with LinkedIn? I assume it's growth both of personal brand and business, but anything else or anything specific?
Yeah, so as time goes on, I mean, I'm open to the opportunities. The main goals for me are growing the agency and my own personal brand and the team. So those are the main things. Also, recently, something exciting that I've been working on is growing an email newsletter. So I've been working with a few individuals on
Mm.
a few like courses and email newsletters. So that will be launching in February. So that's something that I'm quite excited about, just so I can create a closer bond with my
Mhm.
audience, share more of my advice. Because with LinkedIn, you can only share so much advice. With the newsletter, it just feels like another level for your audience. So I wanted to try that out and see how it goes. I feel like this year is a year of experimentation and seeing what works and what doesn't,
Mhm.
and also staying open to the opportunities. Because like on LinkedIn, because I'm quite active on there, people, they come to me, they message me about things, and like even this podcast, for example, like people give me opportunities, so I want to make more use of them. I want to try them out and see how things go. So for me, we'll see how the year goes and what happens.
We'll be excited for the newsletter, and I would be just curious because when I was trying to, or when I was starting my own, I couldn't decide what platform to choose. So, would you mind sharing what platform have you chosen?
Actually, last week I had a call with two individuals that I'm working with for their course and email newsletter. And this was something that I didn't really understand because I'm not an email marketing expert, which is why I hired people to help me. And we hopped onto the call because we were trying to decide the platform to use. And there were two platforms. So she mentioned Beehive, that was one, ConvertKit, and Flowdesk. Those were the three main ones. But in the end, we decided to go with
Mm-hmm.
ConvertKit because of like the automations and things. I don't know a lot about it, but the email marketing experts I spoke to, like that's what they mentioned. So we'll be trying it out and seeing how it goes. So I guess when I see it all and try it out, then I can give more feedback on it. But there are different tools out there.
Yeah, and I think it also comes to personal preferences because I feel like that all those tools are pretty powerful, and I don't know, it's just hard to pick because I was trying to pick the right one and I couldn't decide either.
Yeah, when I ask them, like, what's the reason why you would choose a specific platform? So, like with Flowdesk, they were like the visuals and things in there are good. With ConvertKit, she mentioned that the automations and things are good in there. And then Beehive, there was something else for that. So you have to also look at what you need. So what do you want to focus more on, and get a tool that complements that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, true. I agree. And after all, when you choose one, it's never late to switch to the other one. So
Yeah,
it's the best to try and see if it works for you or not.
exactly.
And then, can you tell us more about your business? It's like agency focused specifically on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, so we help founders and C-suite executives with growing their personal brands on LinkedIn. So this can be through branding packages, so retainer packages, and we provide coaching as well. We do one-time services as well, like profile optimizations. So anything around LinkedIn, learning about it, growing on LinkedIn, we help with that.
And do you plan to keep it focused on LinkedIn or even branch to other social media channels?
You know what? That is something we've thought about, maybe branching out to platforms like Instagram and Twitter. For now, we haven't. For now, we solely focus on just LinkedIn. But as time goes on, I am open to it. It's not something where I'm like, no, we can't do that. So we'll see.
And obviously, you've worked with so many people. What would be some recurring mistakes or things that people overlook when it comes to LinkedIn? Of course, there are some obvious ones, but maybe something that should be emphasized or not overlooked.
Yeah. So with LinkedIn, there's quite a few things I would say. It's just overall when I'm going onto calls with people, they don't know where to start or the steps to follow, or then they don't have a strategy in place. And then the fourth thing is usually they're just not seeing results. They're trying, but they're not seeing results. So what I always recommend is look at who you want to help and what you want to do. Use that as a foundation for your strategy then. And again, this is something that comes in with AI tools. What you can do is, because you're at the start right now, you don't really know what to do. So you can go into ChatGPT or DeepSeek or any tool like that, and you can ask it. You can list out, like, these are the individuals I want to help. This is the type of advice I want to give to them. Can you create me a simple strategy that I can use for my LinkedIn? Even something like that is so helpful. Like, people don't do stuff like that. They don't mention it on LinkedIn. I'm like, if you do something like that, it's really helpful. So, as a starting point, I would say do stuff like that. You can use that as a foundation, and then when you start posting and engaging, you can refine things as time goes on. Today, I put a post out about the LinkedIn algorithm and those things, and one main point of it was how the platform is turning more human. So, if you're more of a human on there, then people will come to you, and LinkedIn will boost your things, because that's what people want. Because we've seen so many of these AI things and inauthentic people. So because of that, they're pushing more human people and like authentic people. So that's another thing. And engage with your network, grow your network, just consistently show up. Because if you keep in mind that this thing is for the long term, then over time it will work out for you. Because you're going to learn as time goes on. You're going to figure out, okay, this thing works, this thing doesn't. When I joined the platform and when I started to post consistently 2 years ago, everything is so different now to back then. There's such a massive difference, and each month things are changing. So you have to be quite aware about what's going on, not just on LinkedIn, but your industry in general, what you're doing, any changes, stuff like that. You have to be on your toes and know what's happening.
Yeah, and I can imagine in next 2 years it will be completely different again.
Yeah, I think 2023, back then, like, carousels were quite big. Last year, selfies and pictures were quite big. This year, you've got video. And yeah, those are just post formats and things, but it's the idea that things are adapting as time goes on. So you have to see what works best. Like, for example, carousels were popular, but still there were individuals that were posting, not carousels, but they were still growing on LinkedIn. So you have to look at things you can leverage, but it doesn't mean that you have to do that thing.
I agree. And I think also be open or willing to experiment. What might work for one person may not work for you. And at the same time, do something that you enjoy so that you can keep doing that consistently, as we discussed.
Exactly. That's the main thing. Enjoy it. You have to make sure that you enjoy it, because that's how you're going to do it in the long run.
Yeah, have fun. It makes it much easier to show up every day.
Exactly. Yeah.
And to be aware of time, I would like to ask you a few questions before we finish.
Mhm.
So, outside of LinkedIn, what is it that you enjoy doing in your free time?
So I, okay, I'll mention like three things. One thing is I really like spending time with family. So, like, when I have any time off, I just like spending time with family and loved ones. This is one of the reasons why I like the business, because I guess if I was in a job, I wouldn't be able to spend as much time with them. But with the business, I can be flexible. That's the main thing for me. The other thing is I like reading self-improvement books. So anything around self-improvement, that is my thing. Any YouTube videos around self-improvement, like, I want to watch at least one video every single day and see how can I improve myself? How can I grow as time goes on? So that's number
Mhm.
two. And then the third thing is I like to work out. So runs, things like that. I enjoy it. I try to stay consistent with it, because I feel like that affects everything in your life. So taking care of yourself, your
Yeah.
health, how active you are, it affects everything. So those are the main three things. So, like, family, reading, working out.
I like honestly all of those, and I can relate.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes I look at myself, I feel like I'm like a basic person. There's nothing like super interesting, but that's the lifestyle that I like. So I like it when I'm just in my zone doing my things, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. As I said, I relate to it, and I feel the same. But I was going to say that my next question was about the books. If you read, and if you can share some tips, recommendations, or some book that were impactful to you.
Yeah, so books in general, there's one, Atomic Habits. which I know probably a lot of people have read. There's so many self-improvement books out there which are like that book, which I always recommend. You go search which ones you think will be interesting. I like to go onto Amazon and just buy a couple of books. I also have a Kindle, so I just read here and there. And a lot of people, they're going to sit there and like read for hours. That isn't me. I am a person who will sit there for 15 minutes. I'm going to read. I'm going to pick up a few things from the book and then try to apply that in my life. Because you can read and just like learn things, but if you're not applying it, I feel like it's not really that helpful. So if you're applying
Yeah,
it, that's like the main thing. This is in relation to like, these are like non-fictional books, these are self-improvement, those types of books. But I know a lot of individuals that probably read storybooks as well. Like my sister, she's someone who loves reading storybooks. So, find what works for you, what you enjoy.
I agree. And I like to read books a lot as well, but sometimes I feel like that I may be consuming too much and not applying enough. So that's a good reminder for me as well.
Yeah, it's something a lot of people do.
And obviously, we discussed it a lot already, but can you summarize where people can find you, follow you, and promote any of your services?
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn. Most of the time I'm on there. Also, I'm on Instagram too. So those are the main two platforms for me. And my services and things, I guess my website for Mentory Digitals, like everything is on there, the information and stuff. Or, if anyone ever needs help with personal branding on LinkedIn, you can pop me a message and I'd be happy to help.
Yeah, and all the links will be in the show notes. And then the final question, is there something that I should have asked you and did not, or something I forgot, or just anything that you would like to share before we finish?
No, I think we've covered everything, quite happy with everything.
Sounds great then. I want to say a big thank you. It was much faster than I was expecting. I feel like we could be talking for much longer. So I want to say a big thank you. I've been following you for a long time, enjoy your content, and encourage everyone to follow you as well. So thank you very much and keep doing the great work.
Thank you, and I really appreciate it. And thank you for letting me come on and speak and share my ideas. Great opportunity.
Thanks for listening to Produced by with Tommen. Check out show notes for all the links and don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your feedback. Speak soon.